Okay, this is part two of why I decided to stop going to church. Before we just kind of talked about, the overall reasons, saying, didn't believe it was a bad thing. I'm going to tell you some of the cons, I guess pro cons of why I left the church. And this is not directed at any of the churches I've been to in the past, not making any personal jabs or anything or underhanded remarks or anything, but just something I personally, that bothered me. Jesus was Jesus. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but some of these titles of just like, you got like 50 billion pastors and you're just kind of making up titles. You got pastor over the bus ministry, pastor over the kids ministry, pastor over the youth ministry, pastor over the chair ministry, pastor, the maintenance pastor, the facility pastor, the youth pastor, the senior pastor, the associate pastor, the junior associate pastor. And then you got the other end, you got bishops and bishop overseers and bishop elects and people, they're serious about those titles. Like, if you say it wrong, they really get really offended at you. Like, I don't see any of those titles in, like, the Bible. And, I've been in there, like, where they just do it all up. And that whole, I'm just going to say it, the whole armor bearer nonsense. I didn't hear about armor bearers since the Old Testament after, like, David and, like, King Saul, that whole era. Like, so why people walking around with, to me, I've always kind of seen them come across as, like, slaves is what I've seen them. Like, so that kind of sickens me by itself to see that kind of, like, Jesus didn't do all of that. And then this church is all trying to copy each other. Like, everybody either wants to be like Hillsong, like, oh, we got to do it like Hillsong did, and Hillsong did this. And, I was at a church one time, and this other mega church, I'm not going to say the name, came in. They brought a team down there, and they were just, it was really kind of one person behind it all, he had experienced this mega church, and he wanted our church to kind of go to that. And it was the biggest, horrible mess, it was, I'm able to laugh about it, but at the time it was a really painful situation. And it takes a lot to make me cry, but these people came in, and it was several times, like, they were mean. Ain't no ways to say it. They were mean. They were really mean. They were cruel, and it made me cry, and then this, one person kind of makes the rules and everybody's got to follow, and everybody just kind of just be falling around like these little brainless zombies. That's something else that bothered me. It's like, you got to believe what we believe, or, you can't roll with us. And I don't believe it should be that way. I think you need to embrace people that have different thoughts and different viewpoints and different beliefs. I think that's what makes the world such a beautiful place. What's the point of always being around people that are just like you? You can't grow that way. You can't become a better person if you're only stuck with the same cookie cutter format of people. And so, it's just crazy to me. It's madness to me. And then, like I said, just everybody trying to be the same. And then, something else I've seen is everybody is just kind of stuck in this. I'm kind of in the middle because I worked with leadership and I was a worship leader, and so as a worship leader, I always wanted to bring everybody into worship, not just the young people, not just the old people, not just black people, not just white people, everybody. That's why it got towards the end when I was a worship leader, we had we would do worship in English and in Spanish in the same service because I wanted to incorporate everybody of any age, of any nationality. And if we would have got some, anybody that spoke French in there, I was geared up to, learn French if I had to, because I wanted to do whatever I could to pull people into worship. But it kind of seems to me nowadays, everybody's kind of got like a youth church, and the youth church doesn't want to compromise with the old church, and the old church, and when I say old church, it's got the more mature saints in it. They don't want to work with the young people. So like when you go to church, a lot of times it's this clear divide. And I get it. Like the older people still kind of want to dress up, and they believe, you should kind of, look your absolute very best. And the young church believes, if you want to come wearing like shorts and flip-flops and, just a t-shirt, that's cool, let's roll, let's do it. And we want our music to be loud, and we want it to be hard, and we want a little bit of rock in there, and we don't like hymnals, and hymnals are evil. Hymnals are great. I love hymnals. I don't care what anybody says. I love hymnals. There's so much truth in hymnals. There's so much encouragement, and they're just as powerful without having to be rewritten. Excuse me. A lot of people like to rewrite hymnals and whatnot. They're still just as good and just as powerful and just as great. You don't have to do that. And so they're just as great as some of the modern worship songs we have, you know. They can all flow together. Great is thy faithfulness, to me, is just as powerful as the song Oceans by, Hillsong. There's, I just don't think, you have the right to kind of, it bothers me when I see a lot of young people, younger pastors and younger Christians putting down hymnals and whatnot, because you got to think, you have to be respectful to the culture that the older saints did grow up in. If it wasn't for the road that a lot of them paved, we wouldn't be able to even have the kind of church where we have now. So I think, a lot of times it's easy for younger people to just kind of throw older people to the side and be really disrespectful and say, I've actually heard people say, well, they'll be dead soon, so we don't want their traditionalism in here. Just they can go somewhere else, and I think that's wrong. That's not, to me, that's not a characteristic of Christ. Christ is for everybody and comforts everybody, and it should reflect that. If we're, as Christians, we should reflect that. You should be able to communicate and get along with older people as well as you do young people, because, the love of Christ is that's in you. It covers a multitude of sins. It covers a multitude of foolishness. It's some older people are like sticks in the mud and they like to complain, but, nobody deserves to be thrown away. No, I don't believe that. Second, again, not disrespecting anybody. I am not going to audition to worship God. God commands that all of us worship Him, and He says that we should do it different ways, whether it's on the drums, singing, clapping your hands, stomping your feet. Do understand that some people feel like they're called to be worship leaders and sing and can't sing a note. God bless you. I understand that. That is not for you. And people don't want to be honest and be like, really, we're not seeing this. But there's some people that are anointed and called for it, and I just think that is crazy to get up on a stage and audition to worship. Jesus never did those things. That's kind of just something that's kind of picked up here within, I would say, maybe within the past 20 years, maybe. It's crazy to me. I am not auditioning to worship. I do understand that in the past, church is kind of the platform where any kind of foolishness goes. Like, anybody can get up and sing this song. But some of that is I understand some people need to be worked with, some people need to be coached, and some people just need to be told the truth. No, this is not for you. I feel like you might be more productive in this area, or that area. But don't just let somebody get up there, holding the mic, sound like a hot mess because you don't want to hurt their feelings. At the same extreme, I don't necessarily agree with the whole audition process, because I'm not auditioning to worship Christ, I just think there are other ways you can go about it. Me, personally, I know I have the gift of music in me, and I know I had the gift. I never saw after, getting on a stage and singing. It just kind of all fell in my lap. And even as a worship leader, I never went seeking after it. We had some worship leaders before, and they transitioned out in between services, and we didn't have anybody to do it. But they had trained me before they left. So I just stepped up and said, I'll do it. And from that Sunday on, I just ended up doing it for almost 10 years. And I grew from that, So, and I never tried to be like anybody else. I never tried to go and, we perform music by Hillsong, but I didn't want to be like Hillsong. I didn't do the music just like on the CD either, because if that's the case, I can just put on the CD and we'll worship to that. So, everybody's just, and the freedom of it. And, I was so blessed to grow up and see church from so many different points of view, to see the gospel side of things, to see tent revivals and tent meetings. And, you read about these people in the Bible that endured so much and they really waited on the Lord. Another thing that kind of bothers me, why I decided to leave the church, was everybody just kind of wants I'm not trying to be vulgar, like a hit it and run kind of church service. Hey, get me in, hour and a half at the most, I want to be out. People say, well, research shows that people have an attention. There comes a place where people got to put in some level of self-discipline where you're like, I don't think I should be there all day, because I've been a part of churches where I've literally been there for like 8 hours, and that's too much. But I think there's a time where, we shouldn't be so rushed to get people in and out that we can't literally stop and wait on the Lord, or just have a free moment in worship, or, or prayer, or just, some of my best times was when I was able to just walk into a church before doors were locked or any forces like that. Just sit in a pew and just pray and talk to God. Like, I miss that. I miss that more than anything. And now, unfortunately, good luck going to a church where there are pews. Then good luck finding a church that's unlocked. And, and then, everybody has these different formats and the way they want things. And it's just crazy to me. Like, it's just, when I go to church now, like the last time I went, it's more foolishness than anything. And I just got tired of leaving feeling frustrated, or feeling like, I had to either having to go somewhere and worship before service or worship after service so that I could really express and get out what was in my heart. Or, I was saying, a lot of people say, I wish my church could do this and I wish I could do that. And you find like I really want to go more, I want to go deeper. And, maybe God's called you there so you can be that person that can be the change in your church. But some people, you're not. And, God may be calling you to go other places. Not everybody's supposed to be, everybody wants to get saved. And everybody's called to be a church pastor of a mega church or get a job at the church. And if that's the case, then who's going to go and talk to the homeless people? Who's going to go and, go to the unwed mother and stuff? And when you do those things, that's another thing. If you're going to do them because you love Christ. Don't do it so that you can get Instagram hits or you can just brag, this is what we did. The most foolish thing I ever saw one time was a church went and picked up some homeless people. And they brought the people to the church. And then they made the people stand up in the middle of service, told that they were homeless, told hey, we went and picked them from the homeless shelter and we brought them here. And everybody in the church goes crazy and starts running around the church and like speaking in tongues and all this other foolishness. And I thought, that is not what Christ would do. No. Stuff like that, just stop. And everybody's always trying to do stuff for show or to show, hey, I got the best church. And, yeah, you got the coolest bumper sticker and y'all are rocking the shirts. And, yeah, we got the biggest sign. But what's the point if all the people in it aren't happy? And, 5 minutes down the road, somebody's hungry or, somebody's killing themselves. You look on TV and you see all these horrible things happening to people all over the world. And I want to make a difference in this world. And I don't fit in the clique with church people or the church crowd where, you go to service for an hour and a half, then go hang out with your friends afterwards and say, I got all I need to sustain me to Wednesday or next Sunday. I don't fit in that mold. And you might be in the same place. You might be like, I just don't fit. And so I want you to really, my thing would be, really talk to some people that don't have an agenda or manipulate you. Because let's also be honest, there are a lot of pastors out there that do manipulate people. And they use the word of God and they use God to manipulate people to get them to do stuff. Unfortunately, the Pentecostal church has caught a big rap for this. And growing up in a Pentecostal church, and it's been